Hey everyone, welcome to the Preps on 11 Web Extra Playoffs edition. That's right, I'm joined by Scorebook Live's Nate Olson. Nate, the playoffs are finally here.
Yeah. You know, it's gone by fast. I know that there was a lot of matchups, 9 and 10, that we were looking forward to, and some of those were good, and not all of them lived up to the hype. But now the great thing about the playoffs is everybody is 0-0, and we have seen throughout history that 3 and 4 seed that not everybody's talking about. They make that innocent climb to the championship. So it's going to be fun to see who that is. And we'll break it all down here, you know, Digger Phelps style. I forgot to bring my highlighter. But we'll do a little bracketology here.
Perfect. Let's go. We're going to go conference by conference, starting with the 2A. If you had to give me your favorite to come out of that bracket, who you got?
I really like a rematch of what we saw for your game of the week last week, Carlisle and Hazen. I think that could happen again. How great that would be for those two towns. You know, Hazen's got the better draw. You know, they're the home team playing Poen in that first game. Possibly would match up against Conway Christian. And then another, you know, good teams in that bracket. You'll get Derricks and then East Points at County. You can put up a lot of points. I like them coming through there. But I think they've got a pretty good path there. And then you look at Carlisle Friday night, Mineral Springs, and then a big matchup with Bigelow, who's a good team, a Central Arkansas team over in the Perry County area. That would be a tough game for them. But with Sullivan, the running back, and he's very good, that's gonna give a lot of opposing defenses problems their running game. So I really think that's going to happen. I think it was a great game.
Great environment. Yeah, it was fun being out there.
Yeah, and I heard from some people that said that they were really glad that it got coverage. And, you know, we try to do that too with the smaller schools to spread that around. They were one of our games to watch, and Kyle Sutherland does a good job identifying those good matchups, and he did that there with one of the 10 games. And you guys did a great job by being there. So I think that would mean a lot to those two towns to play here. And I think that as far as a small school 2A type game, I think that would bring a big crowd. I mean, they may set a record for that because there's a lot of those alumni that live around in Little Rock too. So it would be fun. 2A is good. There's some other teams in that bracket that are decent too. And like I said, EPC and some schools from not around here. So it could offer those teams a challenge, but I like both of their offenses, and they play good defense too. They've got athletes, Luke King and Hazen, great athlete. So I think they've got the depth advantage on a lot of teams they play too. So I think that that's what I would go with right now. You ask me next week or 2 weeks, but that would be my answer now.
Yeah, I think if those two were to face off in War Memorial, the entirety of Hazen and Carlisle would just be a ghost town on that Friday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. You could run in there and probably every place would be closed. I don't think even the banks, nobody would be open. It'd be a lot of fun. It'd be a lot of fun.
All right, let's head to the 3A now. One of the longer brackets out there. A lot of schools in the 3A playoffs.
Yeah.
Who do you think's got a good shot at making it to War Memorial?
Well, Glenn, the playoffs is kind of like, what have you done for me lately? How are you playing now? And Glen Rose, I wouldn't have probably said this a few weeks ago, but I think they're playing as well as anybody. They played themselves into that top seed. They're at the top, very, very top of this long bracket. And, you look at week 2 or round 2, they may score off against Fordyce again, but Fordyce will have to beat Mansfield. But they beat Fordyce a few weeks ago in Glen Rose that kind of ignited this run for them. So that would be very interesting to play them again. Hard to beat a team twice. Fordyce falling on a little bit of hard times after that loss. But yeah, Coach Keener, he knows how to get it done. They would be the home team for the entirety of the playoffs. So that, if you've been there, it's a really good environment too for small schools. And so, I like that. And you might also look at coming out of that, this would be a very good challenge for them. Melbourne, they're undefeated. Melbourne is undefeated. That would be a tough game for them in the quarterfinals. But they would have it at home. Melbourne would have to travel far away, and I don't think Melbourne's been tested in the league like they have. So I like Glen Rose. And then on that bottom side, I really like Prescott a lot. The Curly Wolves, talent for talent, I think can play with anybody. They have depth, they have speed, they have strength. They've got a good quarterback. and their offense is very good. So, yeah, I like them. I think they could come out. I think it could be a Glen Rose Prescott, and that's a rivalry sort of. It's a matchup that's happened quite a bit in different conferences. Was at a game one time covering them where they both came out of the tunnel at the same time. That wasn't a good situation. So, but so there's a little bit of bad blood there. But I think those are two of the better teams. And then you look at Horizon; they're undefeated. What will they do? They've got the bye. They would play the winner of Bismarck and Manila. I would have them as a favorite there. And they would be matching up with possibly somebody like Charleston, who is very good too. I like Charleston, I like Boonville. But I think in that bottom bracket is the tougher one. I think it would be tougher for Prescott coming out of there with Charleston there. But I think they can do it. I think they've got the talent and the depth to get that done.
I can tell you from covering them for years before I moved out here, Charleston and Boonville, two towns really hungry to get back to those state title games because they've had that success in the past. All right, from one giant bracket to the other, 30 teams in each, the 3A and the 4A. 4A level, a lot of really good teams.
There is.
Who do you see possibly making a run?
Well, Harding Academy has moved up. They're sitting on top of that bracket again. And it looks like they've got a very good, favorable draw, possibly playing Gravette or DeWitt. It would be Gravette or DeWitt. I think probably Gravette there in the second round would be heavily favored there. You've got Camden Harmony Grove playing Bald Knob and Gosnell and McGee. I think it's kind of a crapshoot between Harmony Grove and McGee if they were to play. And I think Gosnell, and I think either one of those teams, I don't think they beat Harding Academy. Harding Academy has already beaten Camden Harmony Grove, so you get all the way to the semifinals there, or to the
quarterfinals where you potentially circling a big Harding Academy Arkadelphia match. I would have to imagine.
Yeah, that would. And I failed to mention or notice that Arkadelphia is there. I think I would probably pick Arkadelphia in that game. I mean, they're really hot.
It's wild to think that would be a game, not even in the semifinals, but the quarterfinals.
Yeah, no, that's a state championship kind of game. It would be at Harding Academy, which that is a really good advantage for them there.
That's a bus ride from Arkadelphia up to Searcy.
Yeah, but I have talked about Donovan Witten. When you're talking about the NCAA basketball tournament, you always talk about the guard play, like who's got the senior guards, and that's a little different now at the portal, but it always used to be you really liked a team with a good guard court that could take you far into the tournament. And I think with football, it's the quarterback. I mean, if you've got a very good quarterback, and Donovan Witten is tested, he led a comeback against Hot Springs this year, who, we'll talk about them in a minute, but they are a much better team than we probably thought at that minute when Arkadelphia beat them in the last second. So I probably would pick Arkadelphia to beat them, but either one of those teams, I think it would come out of that side. And, looking at the other side of it, you've always got to look at Warren. I mean, they're really good. Got a lot of talent. Bo Hembry is tested. And a team that a lot of people don't know about here, you know about them, you've been there, Elkins.
The Elks.
Yeah, and they've got a guy, his name is Slade Dean. He was at Greenwood. He transferred. He played at Greenwood last year for Hunter Houston when he got hurt. But he's kind of going now by Dizzy, because I think he is somewhat related to the pitcher, Dizzy Dean. So some people are calling him that, but whatever you call him, he's a great quarterback. And they've also got Deshaun Chairs, the running back. So I like them as one of those teams that, even though they're like a number one seed, that some people are kind of sleeping on them. It wouldn't surprise me if they made a deep run and got there, because they put 70 points up in their last game. They could score.
All right, now we'll move into the top half of the classification, starting to get a little bigger schools here with the 5A. Interestingly enough, I mean, I'll let you kind of take off on this, but I feel like a lot of the favorites in the 5A are schools that are spending their first year in the 5A.
Yeah, well, last year we were at War Memorial Stadium watching Robinson and Shiloh play, and that's a trendy pick for a lot of people. I think the Shiloh pick is, I used the word stone cold lock today on the radio about a particular game. It was Farmington at Valley View. I don't know if this is that Shiloh making it a stone cold lock. Mills might have something to say about it, but I just got done telling you about how tough they are to beat in the playoffs. Their winning percentage at Champion Stadium, I mean, I don't know how many games they've lost there. Like, very few. I mean, they're good because, and then, you know, most of the time they're playing somebody from way across the state. You have to drive up there, and you've been there a bunch of times. I mean, there's a mystique.
Oh, they've got flames that come up with their entrance and everything. It's a whole thing.
It is a big deal there. So the Mills matchup would be real intriguing. I don't think that Mills has as much depth, but they've got more athleticism, and they've got Jabray Shaw, who's a walking touchdown. And he's a guy
on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, on both sides of the ball. And probably, you know, in special teams, I think he returned some kicks. He's returned a couple touchdowns. And so that would, the way you beat them, you know, is that quick striking, if you can get on them early. Now, the one thing about it is they can come back, but I think you've got to go punch for punch with them, and you kind of got to beat them to the punch. You can't be down 14 points, try to come back. It's difficult. Arkadelphia had them last year and couldn't quite finish it, but they were going shot for shot with them, and Mills could do that, but I think Shiloh goes. And then on the top side there, you know, I can see why people want to pick Robinson, but I wonder if everybody's forgotten about Parkview. You know, have you forgotten about them? And, you know, they lost twice to 7A opponents. They played Bryant very tough, and
they played North Little Rock really tough too. That game came down to the final play.
Played North Little Rock very tough. That, by the way, is probably North Little Rock's signature win. So they have played those teams tough, and they've done well in their league. I think they coasted a little bit, but going down to Camden and blasting Martavius Thomas and the Cardinals, that was a statement game to me. I think that I would give them the edge over Robinson because Noah Freeman, the running back, is not playing if he was to play. But the running back by committee has gone well, and Todd Escola, he kind of foreshadowed this, that by, you know, November they'd be playing really well, and they are playing really good as a team. I can see why people are picking them, but I think with that being in Little Rock, that's not going to be a real home field advantage for them. I mean, Parkview doesn't have to travel. It sets up good for Parkview, and I think they have got the numbers and the talent that a lot of 5A schools don't have. Or not Bobby Boulding, but his brother. You know, he said that Brad. He said that we have a 5A enrollment, but we have a 6A football number. So all the guys that are at the school are playing football, and there's a lot of talent there. So I think they win that. I think it's Parkview and Shiloh, and I think Parkview wins. And the reason I say that, Bobby Boulding is a defensive coordinator. We haven't talked a lot about that this year, but this is when it starts to get key having him on the staff, because he's a guy that's won state championships, and the scheme and the defense is really important. I mean, you know, like last year, Brian did an entirely new defense to get ready for Fayetteville. You know, they changed personnel. So I think when you have somebody that's a veteran guy like him that can move those chess pieces around, that's going to be important playing a team like Shiloh. And I think that's what Robinson did last year against them and was able to really befuddle them in that 4A game. So I think I'm going with Parkview and Shiloh. I think Parkview is a champion.
All right, on to the conference where there might be more storylines than any other going into the postseason. The 6A, I mean, we had a wild Week 10. Greenwood falling, PA with a crazy comeback against like Hamilton, Little Rock Catholic wrapping up their first perfect regular season ever. Now they got to take it all into the playoffs. What do you expect out of the 6A?
Well, I think there's going to be some really good games. I'm gonna say Greenwood and Pulaski Academy. I said on Fort Smith Radio that I felt like whoever won the game in the regular season would lose it in the championship. And you know, my 13-year-old son, on the way back when we were listening to that game, JD said, "Well, you know, I don't think PA would lose twice somebody in a year." That's been kind of, you know, the way it's been with Little Rock Christian. That winner has swapped, you know, over the years. So he's right. There's something to be said about beating a team twice. PA has got a good coaching staff, you know, and Kel Busby didn't play the second half, and neither did Hunter Houston. But I'd like to see that game when both quarterbacks are in there, or if they decided to go with Kane Archer for the whole game or whatever they do. But to have the number one quarterbacks playing each other. But yeah, I think both those teams are kind of the class. They both got good offenses. Their defenses are very good. You know, I'm still kind of trying to figure out what happened with Little Rock Christian Greenwood. You know, a weird start time, and Greenwood didn't play well. I think that could have been a situation where they just knew they had the number 1 seed.
Right. It didn't matter for playoff seeding. Yeah. I mean, you still want to get your guys up regardless. But like you said, that game started at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah. It was a weird day, and Little Rock Christian was really ready for them. I think what it did was give Little Rock Christian a lot of confidence. Walker White played like the 4-star quarterback he is. But I saw one of our plays of the week this week is him rolling to his right and hitting the receiver, on a dime from about 50 yards out, and showed his great athleticism in his arm. He's really good. And if you got a guy like that, they can take you a long way. The quarterback, that's what Green with Hunter Houston, if Archer plays, he's a big-time talent. It's an advantage. And Kel Busby is a good quarterback. So you mentioned all those guys and quarterbacks. The matchup that is the most intriguing to me, this is going to be really, really interesting. Catholic is going to play Little Rock Christian if Little Rock Christian can get by El Dorado tomorrow night, which I think they will do that. That's going to be interesting for a couple of reasons, most notably because it takes away the home field advantage for Catholic. Little Rock Christian people will turn out to War Memorial. There may be more people from Little Rock Christian. They really have a lot of support. So that's going to be interesting. Catholic's an awesome story. I think they're the surprise of the year. They went from kind of a Cinderella for the first 4 weeks to a title contender, and rightfully so. Sam Sanders has become a really good quarterback and not just one-dimensional. And I think to beat a team like Little Rock Christian, to beat the PAs of the world, you've got to score. But I think they've got the best defense of anybody. They've got the best defense, but probably their offense might be a notch or two below some of these others. So if you can limit Walker White, get him to make some turnovers, your offense doesn't have to be tremendous. And, against Marion, they had the short field quite a bit, and they scored when they had. So, and I think Sanders has a lot of confidence and a lot to prove there. That would be a big game for them. I mean, it'd be a big game for Little Rock Christian, but they've been used to this. Catholic has not been used to that kind of success, and I think that you will really get their A++ effort there because they don't want to disappoint the fans and the parents, the alumni that are expecting a deep run. So I think that's a game that goes in the fourth quarter and could be one of the more exciting ones of the whole playoffs. But I'm looking forward to that, and no offense to El Dorado, but you don't want to just overlook them. They're the defending state champions, and Christian can't do it. But I think they'll win that one, setting up that, and that would be big for Little Rock, the community, for both those schools too.
All right, on to the big boys. The 7A, which is everyone in the state of Arkansas now knows, is essentially the can anyone beat Bryant bracket. 4 years in a row, Hornets are going to try to make it 5. Is there any reason to believe they won't? No, I don't think so. I think we've been looking all year, you and I and other people, of like what team could do it. I think that's what you kind of do, especially when you've got a juggernaut like them, is who would have the best chance to beat them? And you see in the Central, when they play these teams, you don't see in the West. You wonder if Bentonville could do it. I don't know. I don't know if they've got the firepower. The bottom line with Bryant is their defense is filthy. I mean, they forced 7 turnovers against Conway and a good Donovan Amolo. He was on the watch list as one of the top quarterbacks in the country by SB Live National. And they really frustrated him. I was at that game. He was under duress all night. He was not comfortable in the pocket. They did a brilliant job of being ready for him. And their offense turned it over 4 times. And Jordan Walker, he's a sophomore, and he's had some flashes of brilliance, and then he's made some mistakes, which you'd expect with a sophomore. The offense really needs to shore things up, I think, in the playoffs. I think that to get to Little Rock, they're going to have to block a little better, run the football a little bit better, and when he faces a 3rd and 7, he's going to need to complete that pass. And not forget that Mytorian Singleton is out there, that he's a Division I type receiver, and the coaches remember he's there. And maybe run a little gadget play for him every now and then, get him the ball. I mean, I think there's been a few games where he hasn't touched it enough. And I think being imaginative and flipping it to him on a reverse or something, he's very, very good. And he had a huge catch against Cabot when they got it to him late in the game to keep that
scoring drive going. So I think that's going to be the key for them. I think the defense is going to be there. But if they happen to play a team that could put 14 points on them right away, they haven't shown me right now that they could come back. The one thing about them is they'll never quit. And they've during this winning streak, they've gotten a lot of bounces and calls, and they've found ways to get it done. But I don't know, like if they fell behind 14-0 early on, it'd be hard for them to get back in it. But it's also hard to score 14 points on them. I mean, it really is, especially like in a string. So I've kind of said all along, I'm picking them until they lose. I don't think I can pick them to lose, picking them to go all the way. And I think Cabot will go to the championship too. And I think Cabot will give them a scare, just like Fayetteville did last year. Cabot can match up mano a mano with them on the line. They've got some good linemen. They punched them in the mouth and came and scored right away. The thing that Bryant did, though, after that, made some adjustments and then didn't let them score again until a field goal late. Let them get all the way inside the 10, then made them kick a field goal. But like my son said, playing somebody twice, it's tough to beat them. And Scott Reed's a good coach. He'd love to have another shot at him. He'd love to have a shot at him in Little Rock in the War Memorial. That would be huge for the city of Cabot and for that program. That would be a big attended game too. But yeah, I don't think Bryant loses. I think their defense is too good. I think they win 5. Another one for the thumb, and the beat goes on for Buck and company.
All right. Well, Bryant's got a bye this week. So this Friday night, round 1. Which matchup are you watching?
North Little Rock and Fort Smith Southside. I might still be waiting for them to do something. It's been puzzling. They struggled right away, got beat by Catholic, got smoked by Fayetteville. They've gotten beaten badly by Cabot. They were sticking with Bryant for a while and then lost in the second half. Part of me still thinks that they could make a run and go to Bentonville, and like last year, they beat them there. I still don't want to count them completely out. I think they win. They've been able to beat lesser teams. They win Friday night. They go to Bentonville. They won there. I think Bentonville's got to be kind of thinking too, like a little bit worried about that too, especially if they go in there, not the greatest record, and what happened last year. I think they have that kind of in the back of their mind. I don't think I can pick them to win, but I think they're going to win this game, and I think that they'll go to Bentonville and play very well there. I think they'll play well there and end the season on a high note and give the Tigers a little trouble. The Tigers haven't seen the kind of talent and the competition that they've seen in the Central here. I mean, it's really, I think this league is very, very good when you talk about the top 4 teams. And the West is better than it was last year, I think, top to bottom, but there's still, it's not quite the West or the Central. So I think that North Little Rock might be able to get them a little nervous up there.
Oh, how the tables have turned after that decade-plus long streak of 7A West dominance. All right, we've talked a lot about what's to come in the playoffs, but it all starts Friday night, round 1, 2-way through 7A, and we'll have highlights for you from all the best games around Central Arkansas right here on THV 11 on the Friday Night Blitz.